Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear student teachers, welcome to lecture 15 of Functional English 1. This lecture is about expressing likes and dislikes. This is an important speech function, and most of us want to talk about our likes and dislikes. And every day, I think we tell many people what we like and what we don't like. Children often like to ask this question very often. For example, which color do you like the most? Which movies, which books do you like? What fruits and vegetables do you like? What kind of weather do you like? So, we are not, all of us are not the same, and we have different likes and dislikes. So this lecture will provide you with the structures and the basic guidelines that will help you to express your likes and dislikes. But first, as our convention is, we are going to review lecture number 14. In lecture number 14, we learned how to differentiate between fiction and non-fiction. And if you can quickly recall, fiction is something based on imagination, something that is unreal, something that is abstract. Whereas non-fiction is based on reality, is based on fact. It doesn't really have to be based on fact or reality, but the author believes or assumes or wants us to believe that it is based on some fact. We also learned to analyze paragraph structure. And if you can recall, a paragraph can easily be divided into three parts. Part 1 is usually the first sentence of the paragraph, and it contains the topic of the paragraph. Therefore, it is called the topic sentence. Then we have the supporting details or the body paragraph. And then we have the concluding sentence, which recaps the main idea. We also learned how to summarize paragraphs. And we also learned how to summarize essays and articles. Paragraph is a building block of essays and articles. So if we can summarize a paragraph, we can use the same skills to summarize the whole essay or the article. So this is what we learned in lecture number 14, and I'm sure that you have written a summary of at least one paragraph or at least one essay of your own choice. And I hope that in future you will keep on practicing writing summaries of paragraphs and essays. Now we move on to the objectives of lecture number 15. In lecture number 15, we are, as I expressed earlier, we are going to talk about likes and dislikes. But there are some sub-skills, some grammar points that are connected to these two skills. So we are going to look at the use of gerunds and infinitives. Well, don't be frightened by these two terminologies, gerunds and infinitives. They really are frightening. But for the time being, just take them as two simple words, and I'll explain it later. And you will find that they are pretty easy. And it is very important to learn about gerunds and infinitives in order to express likes and dislikes, but they are also important in order to perform various other functions in English. Of course, after completing this lecture, you will be able to express likes and dislikes in English. And something connected to it, you will also be able to give your preferences. Sometimes you prefer one thing to another. You like one thing more than the other. How to express it in English. And after completing this lecture, you should also be able to express your indifference, to show your indifference. Indifference is when you don't have strong feelings towards anything. Someone asks you whether you would like to go for a movie, and you simply are neither excited by it and nor you can say bored by it. So you simply do not show your strong feelings about this suggestion. That is called indifference. So showing indifference is when something doesn't really matter to you, when it's okay with you. You neither have strong likes for something nor have strong dislike for something. So indifference, literally you can say that something that doesn't really make difference to you. So it doesn't really matter to you. So because it was connected to likes and dislikes, so I thought it appropriate to include preferences and indifferences along with likes and dislikes. Okay, let's begin with the grammar point. We are going to look at 2 points here, gerunds and infinitives. Maybe you have heard about these terms before. Let's have a look at them first. A gerund is a noun made from a verb by adding ing. So I want you to pay attention to this. It is a noun, okay, made from a verb. So although it is made from a verb, but it's not a verb after you have made it a gerund. So how do you make it? By adding ing. So when you add ing with read, it becomes reading. When you add ing with swim, it becomes swimming. So listening, reading, swimming, thinking, copying, deleting, these are all gerunds. But wait a moment. I told you that it is a noun. And you know these ing forms can also be used in a sentence as a verb. In that case, it is not a gerund. It is called a gerund only when it is a noun. When it is used as a verb, it is not called a gerund. It is called present participle then. For example, if you say, the boys are swimming. The boys are swimming. In this sentence, swimming is not the name of an activity. Instead, it is a verb. The boys are swimming. So, swimming in this sentence would be present participle. But if I say, swimming is a good sport, you know, I am talking about swimming as a sport. Swimming is a good sport. In this sentence, the word swimming is a noun. Therefore, swimming in this sentence is a gerund. I repeat, the boys are swimming. In this sentence, swimming is a verb. But swimming is a good sport. In this sentence, swimming is a noun. And therefore, in the second sentence, swimming is a gerund. Similarly, we can say that he is writing, or he likes to improve his writing. In the second sentence, writing is used as a noun, therefore it is a gerund. So the point is that whenever the ing form of a verb is used in a sentence as a noun, it functions as a noun, it is called a gerund. Let's look at these two sentences. Reading helps you learn English. So reading is name of an activity, it's name of a skill. And here it is the subject of sentence. And you know, normally subject is a noun. Okay, it could also be a pronoun, but mostly it is a noun. Reading helps you learn English. So reading is a gerund here. Similarly, I enjoy reading. Again, reading is used as a noun here, and it is the object of this sentence. So reading in both these sentences is an example of gerund here. Okay, we move on and we look at infinitives. And infinitives are the to form of the verb. Like we say to swim, to think, to listen, to play. So whenever we use to along with the base form of the verb, it is called an infinitive. In Urdu, probably we would call it masdar. Khana, pina, sona, jagna, these are all infinitives. When we use an infinitive, it doesn't have any tense in it. It's neither present nor past nor future. It merely indicates the action in the verb, like to sleep, to play, to think, right? The infinitive form of learn is to learn. You can also use an infinitive as the subject or the object of a sentence. That means, again, this infinitive form can be used as a noun. Just like gerund, infinitive can be either a subject or the object of a sentence. So you can say, instead of saying learning is important, you can also say to learn is important. And to learn here is the subject of this sentence. He wants to learn. To learn is the object of this sentence. Okay? So a gerund is ing form of the verb used as a noun, whereas an infinitive is to plus the base form of the verb used as a subject or object of a sentence. So I hope that's clear. Let's move forward. Now, so far we have looked at the definitions and examples of gerunds and infinitives. Now we see how to use gerunds and infinitives. We use gerunds, which is verb plus ing form. We use gerunds, number one, after certain verbs. For example, we say, I enjoy singing. Singing is a gerund here, and I'm using it after the verb enjoy. So how do I know which verbs take gerund after it? Well, in fact, you have to memorize, because there are lots of words in English that take gerund form after the verbs. Enjoy is just one of them. There are other certain verbs. I have provided you with a complete list of these verbs that take gerund form in the handout. Okay, but here are some examples. Apart from enjoy, you can also say fancy. I don't fancy singing. Go. Like let's go shopping. It's very common in English to use gerund after go. Like we say go skiing, go jogging, go swimming, go shopping. So in English we often say let's go swimming, let's go shopping, okay, or let's go skiing. So we often use ing form or gerund after go. Similarly, we use the gerund form after the verb keep. Let's keep moving. Suggest. He suggested coming early. Let's avoid delaying. Let's avoid making any troubles. He recommended planning it beforehand. He recommended doing it earlier. All right. So you see, these are just few verbs that take gerund form after it. But the complete list of such verbs that have gerund form after it, that use gerund form after it, is provided in the handouts. Okay, so we use gerunds after certain verbs. Number 2, we use gerunds after prepositions. Like we say, I drank a cup of coffee before leaving. Before, you know, is a preposition, and leaving is gerund here. So I drank a cup of coffee after leaving, before leaving. Okay. We can use any preposition here, but after the preposition we always use a gerund. Okay, number 3, we use gerunds as the subject or object of a sentence. Like we say, swimming is good exercise. Swimming is good for health. Smoking is injurious to health. Reading is crucial for literacy. Okay, so you can use it as a subject, or you can use it as an object also. For example, I like swimming. Where do you go for swimming? And you know, for swimming, for is a preposition, so we can use it after a preposition. So we use gerunds after certain verbs, we use gerunds after prepositions, and we use gerunds either as a subject or as the object of a sentence. I hope that's clear. Okay, good. Let's move on. We use infinitives after certain verbs. Like gerunds, there is a list of verbs that usually take infinitives after it. One such verb is decide. So we decided to leave. It's not very common to say we decided leaving. In fact, it is more appropriate to say we decided to leave. There is no real reason behind it. It's simply that you have to look for certain verbs, and again, I have provided a list of these verbs that usually take infinitives afterwards in the handout. But let me show you some verbs that take infinitive afterwards. Apart from decide, we also have agree. So we can say, he agreed to help. He agreed to leave. He hoped to win. He learned to play golf. I would like to invite you. He offered to make donation. He waited to catch the bus. Okay, so we use infinitives after certain verbs, and you should look at the list of these verbs. These verbs are used as gerunds, before gerunds, and after these verbs we use an infinitive. Okay, we also use infinitives after many adjectives, like it is difficult to get up early. It's wise to work hard. It is simple to learn English. It is easy to play cricket. All right. So after many adjectives, you can use the infinitive form of the verb. Okay, we also use infinitive in a sentence in order to show its purpose, the purpose of the action. For example, I came to London to study English. So what's the purpose of my coming to London? The purpose is to study English. So why do you go to the market? To shop. Why do you go to school? To teach or to learn. So there are various purposes of the actions that you perform, and we can express those purposes with infinitives. Okay, so we have learned what is gerund, what is infinitive, and how to use gerunds and infinitives in English. Now it's time to do a little bit of practice. Look at these sentences and see whether we should use gerund or infinitive after these verbs. I don't fancy tonight. So what should I say? I don't fancy going out tonight, or I don't fancy to go out tonight. Yeah, those of you who say going out are right. Going out is the right answer, because after the verb fancy, we use the gerund form. Okay, how about the next sentence? She avoided telling him about her plans, or she avoided to tell him about her plans. Well, here is the answer, telling. Again, we need a gerund after the verb avoid. I would like attending the party or to attend the party. Yeah, you should do it right, because you have learnt I would like already. So it should be I would like to attend the party. I dislike waiting for the train or to wait for the train. You're right. Waiting for the train is the right answer. He hopes winning the match, or he hopes to win the match. To win is the right answer. I would love coming, or I would love to come. You're right. To come is the right answer. I would prefer helping him, or I would prefer to help him. Confused? Okay, here is the answer, to help. I would prefer to help him. So after prefer, we use the infinitive form. Do you mind turning off the TV, or do you mind to turn off the TV? You have done this, do you mind, before, so you should know whether we should use ing form here or infinitive. That's right. Turning off is the right answer. Do you mind turning off the TV? Okay, I am planning buying a new mobile or to buy a new mobile. Yeah, that was easy. To buy a new mobile. Do you enjoy watching English movies, or do you enjoy to watch English movies? That's right, watching English movies is the right answer. Very good. So you have mastered it already, but if you are confused about some of the verbs, please look at the list of the verbs that I have provided in the handouts, and that should help you. Okay, now so far we have looked at a list of verbs, and we have learnt that some verbs are followed by gerunds, whereas other verbs are followed by infinitives. But that's not the whole story. There are some verbs that can either be followed by a gerund or an infinitive. But in that case, they have different meanings. So some verbs may follow a gerund or infinitive depending on their meaning. For example, let's look at these pair of sentences. He stopped smoking and he stopped to smoke. Both these sentences are correct. They are grammatically accurate. But they have different meaning. He stopped smoking, so smoking is a gerund here. He stopped to smoke is an infinitive here. So the verb stop can either take a gerund or an infinitive after it. But what's the difference in meaning? Can you guess? He stopped smoking means that he terminated the action of smoking. He ended the action of smoking. Whereas he stopped to smoke means that he ended another action in order to start smoking. Okay. If it doesn't make sense, let me translate these two sentences into Urdu and they will be pretty easy to follow. He stopped smoking. उसने सिगरेट पीना बंद कर दिया, ख़त्म कर दिया. He stopped to smoke. वो सिगरेट पीने के लिए रुका. To smoke is an infinitive, and I told you that an infinitive can also be used to express the purpose of this action. So why did he stop? To smoke. But here we can't say why did he stop. In fact, here the question could be what did he stop? He stopped smoking. Smoking is an object here, whereas in this sentence to smoke is the purpose of this verb here. Okay. Let's look at few other verbs that have that can have either a gerund or infinitive after them, and there is a change in meaning too. He remembered calling his friend, and he remembered to call his friend. Can you guess the meaning? The difference in meaning? He remembered calling his friend means that he remembered this action. He remembered the action of calling his friend. Whereas he remembered to call his friend means he suddenly remembered that he should call his friend. Right? In Urdu you would say उसे याद है कि उसने अपने दोस्त को कॉल किया था. उसे अपने दोस्त को बुलाना याद है. जबकि ये दूसरे सेंटेंस का मतलब होगा कि उसे याद आया कि उसने अपने दोस्त को बुलाना है. सो ए का मतलब है उसे अपने दोस्त को बुलाना याद आया, बुलाना याद है, जबकि दूसरे सेंटेंस का मतलब होगा कि उसको याद आया कि उसने अपने दोस्त को बुलाना है. Similarly, we can use another verb. Instead of remember, we can use the verb forget, and the verb forget has exactly the opposite meaning of remember. So we can say he forgot calling his friend and he forgot to call his friend. Right? When we say he forgot calling his friend, it means that maybe he called his friend but he forgot this action. But if we say he forgot to call his friend, it means that he did not remember to call his friend. Let's look at another verb here. He tried closing the window and he tried to close the window. Both the sentences are correct. He tried closing the window means closing the window was one of the options. Maybe, for example, it was windy or there was a lot of dust in the wind, so he tried closing the window, but it didn't really help. Whereas he tried to close the window means that he tried to close it, but it was stuck. He could not close it. दूसरे लफ्ज़ों में he tried closing the window का मतलब ये है कि उसने खिड़की बंद करके देखा कि क्या उससे फ़र्क पड़ता है या नहीं. He tried to close the window का मतलब ये है कि उसने खिड़की बंद करने की कोशिश की. Right? So there is a subtle difference of meaning between the two. But there are only few verbs that can either take gerund or infinitive after them. Majority of the verbs, they either take gerund or infinitive after that. So you shouldn't be confused about it. Alright, so now that you have learned about gerunds and infinitives, you are ready to express your likes and dislikes. Okay, the common phrases that we use for expressing likes are I love reading, I love cricket, I love playing cricket, I like cooking rice, I like playing badminton, I enjoy swimming in the pond, I enjoy eating Chinese food, I'm crazy about learning foreign languages, I'm crazy about playing badminton, I'm keen on English poetry, I'm keen on watching movies, I'm fond of playing tennis, I'm fond of collecting coins, something is my favorite, drawing is my favorite, taking photographs is my favorite, my favorite is listening to music. Something feels, sounds, looks good. Swimming looks good. Your plan sounds good. This sport feels great. So you can see that after these phrases you can either use a noun like I love cricket, or you can use a gerund, which is a noun made from a verb. So you can say I love playing cricket, I love swimming, I love singing. Similarly, with I like, you use either a gerund or any other noun. I like rice, or I like eating rice. I enjoy table tennis, or I enjoy playing table tennis. I'm crazy about a football match, I'm crazy about watching football match, and so on. So you see, with all these we can use either a noun or a gerund. Okay, now before I move forward, I would like you to think about things that you like. Things that you like doing, things that you love doing. Of course, there are different degrees here. When you say I love doing something, it is more than I like. Love is actually a stronger emotion. If someone says I like hockey, he likes it. But if he says I love hockey, it means he likes it very much. Okay, now think of the dishes that you like, think of the places that you would like to visit, think of the sports that you would like, etc., etc. Okay, now here are some phrases for expressing dislikes. The opposite of I love is I hate. And again, like love, it is a stronger emotion. I hate listening to music. I hate waiting for someone. I hate speaking in French. I don't like. I don't like playing golf. I don't like watching golf. I can't stand. I can't stand badminton. I can't stand playing badminton. So can't stand means I can't bear. मैं बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकता. Or you can say I don't like really. I can't bear and I can't stand have the same meaning. I'm sick of, I'm tired of, I'm sick of and I'm tired of actually tell that you are annoyed by it. You hate it, you dislike it to such an extent that you are annoyed by it. So you say, I am sick of listening to him again and again. I am tired of waiting for him. Alright, here are some interesting informal phrases that you can use in order to show your disgust, your disappointment, or your feeling of annoyance, especially if you dislike something. So you say, oh, jogging, it drives me crazy. That means you dislike jogging and you are also expressing your feeling of annoyance. Okay, jogging annoys me. Oh, swimming, it really bugs me. That means it really annoys me and I don't like it. Driving makes me mad. Driving makes me angry. Right? If you don't like driving, you can say that. Okay, now that you have learned to express likes and dislikes, I would like you to think of things that you like and think of the things that you dislike. So what are the things that you hate doing? For example, you may hate telling lies, you may hate smoking, you may hate lizards or cockroaches. Also think of the things that you don't like. Probably you don't like playing golf, you don't like going shopping with your wife, or probably you don't like staying awake late at night, or maybe you don't like getting up early in the morning, etc., etc. Now, if you have stronger feelings of dislike, you can say, I can't stand or I can't bear. So what are the things that you can't stand, or what are the things that you can't bear? For example, you can't stand smoking, or you can't stand dishonesty, you can't stand corruption. It's up to you. So the practice situation here for you is to think of 10 things that you like and love and 10 things that you hate or dislike, and then try to use one of these phrases in order to express your emotions. Now here is an exercise that we will do together. Look at these 10 sentences here, and next to each sentence I have placed some small smileys or small icons here, and look at these faces. Either these faces are happy or these faces are sad. So if there is a happy face, this means you like it. If there is a sad face, this means you dislike it. And if there are two happy faces, this means you love it. And if there are two unhappy faces, this means you hate it. Right? So for two unhappy faces, the emotion is strong. The emotion is stronger. And for two happy faces, again, the emotion is stronger. So let's complete these sentences with verbs, with appropriate verbs. I love eating pizza on Saturdays. I love eating pizza on Saturdays. So I'm using the verb love here because there are two smileys here. Okay, how about the second sentence? My sister hates tidying her room. My sister hates tidying her room. Tidying means making it tidy, making it neat and clean, organizing it. Okay, number 3, she dash making dinner on Mondays. She dislikes making dinner on Mondays. Because there is just one sad smiley here or a sad face here, so I would say she dislikes making dinner on Mondays. Arthur, yes, you are right, Arthur loves playing rugby with his friends. My aunt hates driving at night. Your brothers like sleeping in the tent. Those children like listening to the radio. These men don't like working on Sundays, or hate working on Sundays would be more appropriate, I think. My niece likes reading adventure books. Your father's friends don't like driving their cars when it is raining. So there is only one sad face here, so don't like would be appropriate here. So if you, apart from doing this activity, if you just look at the verb forms, the nouns after these verbs, they are in gerund form, like eating, tidying, making, playing, driving, sleeping, listening, working, reading, and driving. So after like, don't like, dislike, hate, love, after all these expressions, we use gerund forms. Okay, very good. Now I think you feel comfortable expressing your likes and dislikes, so let's move on. Okay, now let's practice some dialogues. Here is a dialogue between Fatima and Rida. Fatima says, do you like playing badminton? Rida says, yes, I love it. What about you? Fatima says, oh, I don't like playing it, but I love watching it on TV. And Rida says, what else do you like to do in your free time? Fatima says, well, I'm fond of learning languages. I also enjoy cooking and gardening. And Rida says, gardening? I can't stand it. So you see, in this dialogue, you have learnt various ways to ask about your likes and dislikes. Do you like playing badminton, for example? I love it is the response. I don't like playing it. I love watching it. And I'm fond of learning. I enjoy cooking and gardening, and I can't stand it. So you see, these are the phrases that can be used in a dialogue to express likes and dislikes. So after looking at this dialogue, I think you should be able to feel more comfortable expressing your likes and dislikes in future in English. Okay, now something related to likes and dislikes is expressing preferences. Sometimes someone makes a suggestion. You don't really like it, or you like it, but you prefer something else. So how to make those preferences? There are 3 ways of making preferences that we will discuss in this lecture. Number 1 is to use the verb prefer. And after prefer, we use gerund. Like, I prefer living in the city. I prefer living in the city. After prefer, you use the gerund form. I prefer living in the city. Okay, sometimes you make a comparison. And when you make a comparison with prefer, you use to. For example, you say, I prefer living in the city to living in the country. Not than. We don't say prefer than, we say prefer to. So I prefer living in the city to living in the country. I prefer listening to folk music to, okay, that would be very confusing because listening to, and to, so maybe we should try some other sentence. I prefer playing badminton to playing hockey. Okay, another way to express your preference is would prefer. And after would prefer, you will use the infinitive. Generally speaking, you use an infinitive. So you would say, I would prefer to meet him today. Not I would prefer meeting him today. I prefer meeting him today, or I would prefer to meet him today. Okay. Would you prefer to stay at home or go out? Again, after prefer, I've used the infinitive. To stay at home or go out. Okay, but this last sentence is a slight violation of the rule that we just learned. I would prefer going out to staying at home. Again, we use to with prefer, but this time instead of saying to go out, I'm saying going out. And instead of saying to stay, I'm saying staying. Why? Because there is to for making this comparison, and to stay will be terrible. It will sound very absurd if we say, I would prefer to go out to stay at home. To stay, I mean, that would be ridiculous. So in order to avoid that confusion, when there are too many to's in the sentence, we can violate the rule and we can use the gerund instead of the infinitive even after would prefer. So I would prefer going out to staying at home. I would prefer playing badminton to playing hockey. Okay. All right. Then we have another way of expressing our preference, and that is would rather. And would rather takes bare infinitive. Now what the hell this bare infinitive is? I've taught you what an infinitive is, but we didn't talk about a bare infinitive. Bare infinitive is the base form of the verb. That is the form of the verb without to. So instead of saying to play, to listen, to think, if I just say play, think, listen, these are bare infinitives. So bare infinitive is an infinitive without to. Okay. Would you rather play cricket? So after would you rather, I'm not saying to play. After would rather, I would simply use the verb play. Would you rather play cricket? Would you rather play cricket means that would you prefer playing cricket? Would you prefer to play cricket, or would you rather play cricket? Actually, rather here suggests a preference. So you are comparing it with some other sport. I would rather go alone means that that might sound rude. It means that I don't want your company. I would rather go alone. I'd rather talk to him in person than call him on the phone. And remember, this time when you make a comparison with would rather, instead of using to as we used for prefer and would prefer, for would rather I would use than. I repeat, I would rather talk to him in person than call him on the phone. Okay, so we use than in order to make comparison with would rather, and we use to when we make comparison with prefer or would prefer. Okay, so we've learned some expressions, in fact 3 expressions for preferences. Now let's see how they are used in a dialogue. This is a dialogue between Ali and Sajid. Ali says, "Hi Sajid, do you like cricket?" Sajid, "To be honest, I don't really like it. I prefer football. Do you like it?" Ali, "Yes, I do, but I would rather watch it on TV than play it." Sajid, "Oh, I enjoy playing it. In fact, I'm just going out to play right now. Would you like to join me?" Ali, "Oh, I would love to watch your game, but I can't play." Sajid, "As you like." All right, so You see here, do you like cricket is a simple question. And in response to this, Sajid does not like cricket actually. But he doesn't want to offend Ali. So he says, to be honest. We start our sentence with to be honest when we think that we are going to disagree with someone or when we might offend someone. Because Sajid does not like playing cricket, so he says, to be honest, I don't really like it. And in order to soften it, he uses the adjective really. He could have said, I don't like it, but that might have been a bit harsh. So in order to soften it, he says, I don't really like it. I prefer football. Do you like it? Yes, I do. Now look at this response by Ali. He says, yes, I do. He doesn't say, yes, I like. So whenever someone asks you the question, do you like it? You say, yes, I do. Do you like badminton? Yes, I do. Do you like smoking? No, I don't. Do you like playing cricket? Yes, I do. Do you like watching movies? Yes, I do. Do you like hiking? No, I don't. So you don't, instead of saying I like or I dislike, you can make a short answer to the question, do you like it, or with either I do or I don't. And again, you see, Ali gives a preference. He says, I would rather watch it on TV than play it. So he makes a comparison between these two activities with would rather. Okay, so here you have a dialogue that helps you how to express your preferences. So for preferences, he says, I don't really like it, I prefer football. And here Ali says, I would rather watch it on TV than play it. Okay. So these are just two ways Ali and Sajid expressed their preferences. So in future, in order to make your dialogue natural and more lively, you can add preferences, because merely saying yes, I like it, or no, I don't like it won't be really very interesting. Okay, now one thing which is related to likes and dislikes is showing indifference. Sometimes we don't have a strong feeling for an activity, so we neither like it nor dislike it. We are in the middle. In that case, we are indifferent. Indifferent means that it doesn't make any difference to us. It doesn't really matter to us. Well, in order to show indifference, there can be various ways. But you have to be careful while using these expressions, because they show indifference, but sometimes it is rude to show indifference. You see, even if you are not interested in something, even if you don't like something, it is better to express your opinion, to show your feeling, whether you like it or not, rather than simply showing indifference, because indifference in some situations could really be rude, especially when someone expects you to express your opinion or to express your feeling, and you show indifference. It might sound rude. So you should be careful with that. But here are some expressions nonetheless. Let's look at them. I don't mind. For example, do you mind if I smoke here? I don't mind. I don't mind means that I don't have an objection to it, but it doesn't tell the speaker whether I like it or dislike it. It doesn't bother me. Is it okay if I open the window? It doesn't bother me. So it doesn't make any difference. Okay. Would you like to go out for a movie, or you would rather stay at home. It's all the same to me. It's all the same to me means any of these plans would work. It makes no difference to me. This means you go ahead with your own plan, it doesn't affect me. Similarly, you can say, it doesn't matter to me. For example, is it okay if I use your pen? Yeah, sure, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me shows your indifference. Similarly, I don't care. I don't care could be rude sometimes. For example, if someone asks whether you would like blue or green shirt, you just say, I don't care. I couldn't care less has the same meaning as I don't care. I couldn't care less means that I care very little about it. I can't care less than what I care already. In other words, I couldn't care less means the same as I don't care. The reason why I am giving you so many phrases for expressing likes, dislikes, preferences and indifferences, because in order to sound natural in English, you should actually vary your expressions. So if you keep on using the same expression again and again, it would be very dull and uninteresting. In fact, you should vary you should use a variety of these expressions to make your speech more interesting and to make your English communication more effective. Okay, let's look at dialogue 3, and in this dialogue we will see how indifference is used. So it's a dialogue between Kiran and Faisal, between a husband and wife. Kiran says, what should we cook today? And Faisal says, whatever you like. It doesn't matter to me. Very often, you know, we show our indifference when our wives ask us what to cook. It's an important question for them. But here Faisal simply says, whatever you like, it doesn't matter to me. And Kiran says, how about chicken pulao? You love it, don't you? And Faisal says, you know it's my favorite. Let's eat out today. Well, he can't be indifferent anymore. Kiran has very wisely asked about a question like how about a chicken pulao, and she knows that Faisal likes it, so he says it's my favorite. And he also suggests that let's eat out today. And Kiran says, I would rather cook it at home. I really don't like it from the food street. Although it doesn't sound like a natural dialogue between a husband and wife, rarely do any couples have such a dialogue, but just for the sake of practice, here it is. And I think it will help you in understanding the use of showing indifference. So after looking at these three dialogues, now you should be comfortable in making your own dialogue. And in fact, I would like you to find a partner and create situations in which you can express your likes and dislikes and your preferences and also your indifference in really very creative ways, and then act out those dialogues in those situations. So you have to be really imaginative for that, and you really need to practice it. Unfortunately, through these video-based lectures, it is difficult for me to see if you are really practicing it or not, but I hope that you are following the instructions and you are practicing it at home, because otherwise there are so many expressions, and merely understanding them is not enough. You need to really employ them in your own speech, otherwise you won't become a proficient speaker. Okay, so with this we come to the end of our lecture. Here is the summary of lecture number 15. In this lecture we learned how to use gerunds and infinitives. In this lecture we also learned how to express likes and dislikes, and along with these, sometimes we also want to show our preferences and indifferences. So I hope after this lecture 15 you will feel comfortable in expressing your likes and dislikes in English. Thank you very much.